For millennia, people across the world assumed the Earth was flat, confined within a universe of limited size and shape. The Native American Navajo tribe modeled the universe on their traditional homes, where the floor was the earth and the roof was the sky. In ancient Babylon, the world's oldest map reveals a flat earth surrounded by water. While these stories may seem strange, they had a natural logic.
It does make sense that many of our ancestors believed that the Earth was flat, and that's because the Earth is so huge. It's really a matter of perspective.
But a flat Earth didn't mean an infinite Earth. Because the sky was a dome, then the limit of the world could be found where Earth and sky met. Anyone brave enough to try and reach that limit had to enter the unknown. In ancient Greek epic, the hero Odysseus had to venture to the very limit of the world to find the land of the dead. The closer he came, the more he encountered terrifying dangers and deadly monsters.
We entered the straits in great fear of mind, knowing that on the one hand was Scylla, and on the other, the whirlpool Charybdis. We could see the water whirling round and round, and it made a deafening sound as it broke against the rocks. The men were at their wits' end for fear. Scylla pounced down upon us and snatched up my 6 best men.
But even as this story was being written down, there was evidence for those that looked that the world might not be flat after all. We spotted clues in the skies.
In a lunar eclipse, the Earth comes between the moon and the sun. So instead of the moon being illuminated, the Earth's shadow blocks some of this light. And you can see the curvature in this shadow.
We also noticed hints much closer to home.
If you've ever been out on the ocean and looked out on the horizon and saw a ship sailing away, the ship doesn't just fall below the horizon all at once. It's actually the hull that sinks below the horizon first, and then the mast.
From at least the 10th century BC, sailors were making incredible voyages over thousands of miles, and they found no limit to their world. The ancient Greek historian Herodotus even told a story about Phoenician sailors who circumnavigated Africa. But there was one part of that account he didn't believe. As their fleet rounded Africa, heading west, something unusual happened. The sun now appeared to their right. While it's clear now the sailors must have crossed the equator, for Herodotus, this made no sense. But this was just the sort of observation that could be used by other ancient Greeks who were starting to think in a whole new way.
In early classical Greek culture, around the 500s, 600s BCE, we begin to see the origin of what we now know as Greek science and philosophy. So what the Greeks begin then to do is to leave out the gods and goddesses and begin to focus on the material.
We don't know if there was ever a eureka moment, but by the 5th century BC, this massive eruption of Greek science and philosophy resulted in a reshaping of our Earth, so dramatic that even today, some find it difficult to accept. Our flat Earth broke free from the skies that contained it, reforming into a perfect geometric sphere. Our ideas about the universe would continue to change, but a round Earth was no longer in doubt.